Hello everybody, this is Sandy from Doux Designs. Tonight we're going to play with several companies' products. So we have Pajama Crafter stamps, which used to be Prickly Pear but is now owned by my friend Joy and is now called Pajama Crafter stamps. So these two stamp sets, you can get both of them at Pajama Crafter stamps. And this die set here is from Tonic Studios, and there's several pieces in here. Each one works together with another. So this is a double tag and this is a double tag, and I've already used the inserts to cut out the images we're going to color tonight. So these are the ones that we're going to have to die cut the solid cardstock for the background for our images. So I've kept these dies out. They are my Christmas tags this year. Hey, Mom. So I have chosen a couple from this stamp set and a couple from this stamp set. We have 5, but I think they're pretty quick color ups, so I don't think it'll be a problem. This one is called Sliding By. It has some cute little penguins in there. And this one is the Christmas holiday gift tags. So it gives you the to and from, handmade especially for you, Merry Christmas, and then several little designs with love to you from me. It has several designs in here that you can color and make tags out of, and that's what I wanted to do with them. So I remember last year I was almost out of tags, so I might as well make them before Christmas, so I will have them for my Christmas present. So both of these are from Pajama Crafter stamps. Again, the dies are from Tonic Studios. Hi, Diana. And I have chosen the stocking. And the colors that I want to color this will match the green. This is just scraps of paper so that I can use up my scraps. This one is from the Sliding By, along with this one. And then I have the Santa hat and the candy cane, which will be in red. So we're going to do several different colors so we can get a perspective of what all of them are going to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and take them out, and what we're going to do is we're going to use Olos tonight. So this is going to be some Olo practice. I have done a little bit recently at the Just for Fun retreat with Jen Dove. And so we're going to play with the Olos tonight to see how they come out. You'll notice this one tag is smaller than the other. I chose to do the smaller tag for that one so you can see what both of them will look like, but all the rest of them are the larger ones just because my images are slightly larger. Hi, Adele. So some of these are going to have the same colors on them, like these 3 right here. So we'll start with those, and we're going to color each piece the color that I want it to be, in the green, the red, or the white-ish colors, so that we can do it all at one time. It'll be a little bit quicker. It's just going to kind of show you guys how quick you can make these tags. They're a lot of fun and they're super fast. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to zoom in so you can really see. We're going to use Olo. This is the Olo marker. I have chosen to put my Olo markers together. Some people do it with a brush end and then a chisel end on the other side, but I chose to put them together with a refill on this end, which is why there's no cap on it, in case you guys noticed that. So that is how I have my Olos set up. I figured that way I'll never run out of ink, which makes me super happy. Hi, Beth. This in no way means that I'm not going to be using my Copics in the future. I just want to give you guys some idea of what it will look like when you color with the Olo versus the Copic. If somebody could say hi, that would be great, so I can make sure that I'm not missing comments in case you guys are asking questions or whatever. I would really appreciate it. Hey, Danny, thank you for saying hello. Tags are your jam? Yes, I've been seeing yours. Go out and come back in, Mom. I'm super happy to be back. I missed you guys. I am still the Copic diva. I'm not going to change from Copic, but I am going to do Copic and Olo. It did take some time to learn how to use them and how they work because they are significantly juicier. This particular one, I just changed the nib on, and it didn't fill very fast, so I'm assuming it's getting low on ink. It's hard to tell. You can't weigh them like a Copic marker, but they stay much juicier than the Copics do, and they do tend to blob on your work, so you have to be really careful with them. The rumor is that you should leave the caps off when you're coloring, but I still had problems at Jen Dove's boot camp, so and Joy had lots of problems out of hers. So I don't know if it was because we were in a very dry environment or what the problem was, but we're going to go ahead and jump in and try them anyway tonight. Hey, Timothy. So for the candy cane, I want to use white, and for the hat, I'm going to use white. But on the stocking, Olo has this color called RG, which is not like W, and it's also not like C in Copic. There's no comparative to it in the Copic family. So we're going to use it so you guys can see. I really, really like it, and I'm kind of excited about the difference in the color. You can use Copics and Olos together. They're both alcohol markers. Did you both fly with your Olos? No, I drove. Hi, Peggy. I drove to Arizona, so there was no flying with the Olos, but Joy did fly home, so I don't think she has colored with them since then, so I'm not sure how that went, but some people did fly with theirs, but I drove, so just like we would with Copic, I'm going to put this CG3 along the edges of each one that I want to be white. So I'm just going to go down the candy cane, the inside and the outside. And like I said, for those that are just jumping on now, I like coloring with alcohol markers, all of them. They do take a bit of practice, especially when you switch the different colors. The different brands, because they don't behave exactly the same. The nibs are different and the markers are different. But they did take a lot of practice. Hi, Tammy. You're excited. I'm loving the Olos. You're excited to hear about them. I do like them. I don't have a problem with them. What is the hardest is you can tell just by looking at this right now. This is a very juicy tip. So you have to be really careful to kind of watch it while you're coloring. And if it gets even more juicy than this, you need to move it away from your project, because if you hold it like that for too long, it's just going to drip right out on your paper. And it doesn't do it all the time, but it does do it some of the time. So there's not really a heads up on it. It just happens, and then you're trying to fix your project. So it only happened to me a little bit while we were on the trip, but it happened to Joy a lot and a couple other people in class. So is there anything you can do to prevent? Well, what they tell you is to leave the caps off when you're coloring, because they say that it doesn't release ink unless it's touching the paper. So you also want to have a very, very light touch. And that's a big change from the Copics for me, because I'm heavy-handed. So you have to make sure that you're really paying attention to the upright and side use of your marker. So when it's on the side, you don't want to touch it too heavily. And if you want thin lines, you have to hold it upright. That is the same as the Copic, but the pressure has to be extremely light. If it's not, it's going to do it. And they say to just lay them on your desk like that. Don't close them all the way, because closing and opening causes a suction on the tip, which will cause it to blob. But I didn't find that that really made any difference in my markers, so I don't know. They also roll all over your desk, which somewhat drives me a little bit crazy. So I try to find things to hold them still so they don't roll over my work while I'm working. But there is no other end for you to pull off in order to keep the ink even flow. There is a little bit of working to get the colors to blend, but they will blend very, very nicely, and they will produce beautiful work. If you guys want to hang out towards the end of the video, I can show you my projects, if you haven't already seen them in the group, of what we created at the retreat. The retreat was super fun, and I learned a little bit, not a lot, because I kind of already took all the certification classes and everything, so I know how the alcohol markers work. But I did learn more technique type things. So every bit of what we colored had no pattern paper, no solid cardstock. So we had to color everything that we did. So every background that we had, even if it was a die cut, it was die cut in white. So it did kind of teach me more of how to use more white paper than I'm used to doing, because, you know, pattern paper and cardstock are really my go-to, and I love doing that. But I bought some of the dies so that we could play around with them on the lives, so you guys could see how to do different things with the dies you have, different coloring techniques and stuff, which I think will be really fun. So I'm looking forward to those. If you noticed, when I first put the color down, you can see the line between the light and the dark. So you do have to work that line a little bit. You don't want to go over the whole thing, but you do want to go over it once and then go back and just work that line until it smooths out. It's a little bit like Copic, but Copic has a whole bunch more colors, so you're able to choose those in-between colors that Olo doesn't have yet. So you have to do a little bit more working with the colors. So I would say it's a little bit more challenging, but it still works the same when you get down to it. You have some juicy ones that you store tip side up before coloring, between coloring changes. That seems to help mine. Maybe to prevent your markers from rolling, a scoreboard prevent them from rolling. Yeah, probably a scoreboard would work. I do have an Olo stand here that Dale made that holds my Olos, which is helpful. If you have a cap on both ends, they sit in this really, really nicely. So they sit in there perfectly if you have caps on both ends. But I chose to put a refill on the back end of mine because I felt like, you know, I have all the Copic refills, so I felt like if I didn't have a refill handy, I would not be able to, I would not be able to be happy. I'd be worried I was going to run out of ink. So I felt like putting the refill on the other end was better for me. That way, when it runs out, I can just switch it over and then order another one, and I won't ever have to run out of the ink and just not have it. So that makes me super happy. I think we're going to look into a few other like holders or different ways to hold the Olo markers for you while you're coloring, so they don't roll and so they sit great handy in your on your desk. So be on the lookout for that to come in the future. Now that I'm using them a little more, and my husband can experience what's going on, he might be able to come up with some other ideas. So right here is what I was talking about. See how you can see the line? So I'll hold it up closer so you guys can really see it. But you can see where the last color and this color don't really line up. So you just need to touch that line area one more time. Just kind of go over it, soften it up. And then when you hold it back up there, it starts to go away. So you just kind of work that line like this until it disappears. And then it's just as smooth as all the Copic colors. It's beautiful. So it's easy to get great results with these, just like you can with the other markers. I mean, alcohol markers, it's alcohol ink, it all works the same. So just learning how to use it is what will help in the end. You've been using your markers for about a year. You've had the blob issue. Weirdly enough, it's most with our 05 and 06 and some of the darker. I'm going to boot camp in 2025, and I hope I can learn more as well. You'll really enjoy the boot camp. It was a lot of fun, and what I loved about it was that I walked around to look at everyone's projects about the third day, just to I just wanted to see how everyone was doing with the speed of the class. It's much slower than her classes in the past. It's not just coloring. There's several other things that she does. And I was genuinely surprised and happy to find out that it seemed like everyone was getting, you know, their own style of beautiful results. So I was really impressed by how well everyone was doing in the classes. So I think you'll really, really like it. It was the first time I met Jennifer Dove, and she was super nice and fun. And her class was really, really good. I mean, she had answers and was very, very good. So I would recommend that in the future if you really want to go to something like that. It was a bit on the higher price side, but it was a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed it. So this is the RG I was talking about. As you can tell, it's a little bit like a gray, but there's a red undertone to it, which is different than any other colors I've seen. And I really, really like it because it's just a different look. So in the beginning, this kind of looks a little bit like gray and a little bit like brown. But after we add the last color, you'll see why I picked this. It almost is like a worn vintage texture kind of look for this stocking, which is why I chose the stocking to do this on. And I really think it's neat. Hey, Mary, I would highly recommend that when you color with your Olos, because they're so juicy, that you try not to spend a lot of time real close to the line, because it will bleed out if you're not careful, because so much more juice is released, ink is released onto the paper. So you have to just kind of, and once you learn those and you keep those in mind, you just have to work with it to get used to it. But it's not something that you can't, oh, I used W instead of, oh well, we're using W. We're using W with our RG for this last step. Now the RG, it only has 4 colors, 7, 6, 5, and 3. There is no 1. So that's why I chose to do the W one with it, because there wasn't a light enough number for me to have this lightest coat. And I really wanted it to be a little bit lighter than the 3. So it looks a little funny right now, but let it dry a little bit and you'll see how it looks. It's just beautiful. I really like this color. So give it a time. It looks a little bit greenish right now, but I think you'll like it in the end. So I'm going to go over the darker areas one more time to kind of smooth it out with this RG3, just so we can get rid of that green tone and keep that reddish undertone, but still have it blended very well. So it's super pretty, but definitely different. And I did that before I did any of the colors, so you could really see a difference between the CG and the RG. It's definitely a different color. And we'll use the WGs here in a little while. Well, let's just do them now so you can see all three of the grays, because to me, the grays with the Olos don't compare with the grays to the Copics, not really at all. So I did this little chart, and I'm going to show it to you real quick. So this is the little chart I made, and these are the Copics. So these are the Copics W's and C's, and these are the Olo W's and C's. So this one looks like it has a little bit more of a reddish undertone than this one does. And this one looks like it has a blue-purple undertone. And this one looks like it has more blue, no purple. So, and there's the RG. So honestly, it kind of feels like if I were going to own all the Olos, I would still have these, because I really feel like these C's and W's are necessary. So let's go ahead and do the W's, and we'll do them on the inside of the penguin so you can kind of see what all three of the grays actually look like in action. So this one is going to be a little bit on the dark side, so I'm just going to put like just a little bit of accent in his tummy area and a little bit of shadow on his face. Not too much though. I don't want him to be very dark. I want him to be pretty light. So that was the WG5. And then this is WG3. Okay, thank you, Roberta. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over both sides of this W5 and kind of curve it out a little bit more. It's going to soften both sides and kind of get rid of that harsh line that I have in there. So again, we have to go over it a couple of times just to soften it up, but see how that just softens it into one complete color? I really like that. We're also going to extend a little bit. I'm going to want these to meet eventually. It's going to look a little funny on our penguin to start out with, but I promise in the end it's going to be super cute. So I made some little charts before I went, so I'd know color families and you know what the colors look like with the Olos before I color with them, just so I would understand and it would make it easier to pick. But honestly, at camp, Jen kind of picks all the colors for you. It wasn't until day 3 that I started going a little rogue and started changing it up just a bit, because I wanted to follow exactly what she said, so that I got the full effect of the class. So this is, oh, that's not W. I need WG3. Do I have that? Oh, I did 3. I need W1. So here's W1. And I do have a lot of colors out on my desk, and I don't know them as well as the Copics. Like, I can just look at the cap and pick up a Copic, but with Olos, I don't know them that well yet, so we'll just go through some learning curves here, but as long as you bear with me, we'll be all right. So there's also a W0. It does blend out pretty well. This is the 1, and then I'm going to go in with the colorless blender. It is such a handy tool, just like with the Copics, but I love it. So we're kind of making him a little, he's out in the snow playing around, so he's going to look like he's a little darker. He either got a suntan or he's been playing in the mud. but I wanted you to be able to see the difference in the colors, and this will be really helpful for you. I also used my white gel pen a lot more in the classes, so I'm kind of excited about that. I feel a little more confident. So we're going to use the colorless blender now to kind of blend out so we don't have this big circle in the center. So we're just going to first mix it, and then we're going to blend out so we don't have that big line there. And I'm softening the color a little bit. And then this one, we're going to extend the color out into his face, and we might have to use the W0 just so he doesn't look so white in the center. But I don't know, that might look actually really cute. So I kind of like it. So we might just leave it like this. But if you color it over and over, you'll get it to smooth out. This part right here is slightly darker than I really intended, so the colorless blender will blend that out a bit. So there we go. That looks so much better. So here are the three colors. So this is the CGs, this is the RGs, and this is the WGs. So none of them are close at all. They all are completely different, so you have a lot of variety to work with. There they are up close. The W is warm, the C is cool, and the one in the center is a little bit brownish, but when you see it in person, it has a red undertone. So those are the three differences. In case you were wondering, we might as well go ahead and do this little guy too, since we're already here. And this time we're going to start with WG3 instead of 5, so that we can see it just a little bit lighter than that one. And just finding the different colors you want to use and what tone you want to do it in, that's just practice. I also learned an interesting way to add color to the eyes, which we might do with this one, just so you can see a different way to do eyes other than what I always show on my lives. It's just a different technique, which is kind of cool. So now we have WG1, and we're going to blend out our WG3 with the 1. So I know I'm doing a lot of talking on this one, just so you guys will understand a little bit of it. This one bled out a little bit over the edge, but since he's going to be black, I'm not all that worried about it. Only if it's going to make a big difference do I really care about that necessarily. It looks like I washed out a lot of my darker colors, so I'm going to go back in with my WG3 and kind of darken this up a little bit. So I guess we could have started with the 5 if we really wanted to, because we're ending up darkening it a little bit anyway. This part underneath his belly would definitely be darker because it's so close. It's hidden. There's no light on it. So this time I'm just going to go around and extend in a little bit more. But I'm not going to spend too much time on there because I want to leave that dark shadow area on there. But I am going to use the colorless blender again. There is a WG0, but I kind of like using the colorless blender. In fact, I found myself using the colorless blender quite a bit more than I do with the Copics. So there we go, another W. So that is the grays. If you were wondering, now you know. There they are. CG, RG, WG. And time for a drink. So I like it. It's definitely different. It's like I got a whole new thing to play with, which makes me super happy. Okay, I have a few oranges pulled here. And this will be very interesting because usually our oranges in Copics are YR, but Olo is OR, so orange red. So I chose 2.40 for orange only, and then orange red in 2.5 and 2.6. So that's what we're going to do, their feet and their beaks in this orange color. So we won't need it for these three, so I'm going to move them aside, and we're going to go ahead and work on, we're starting with OR 2.6. That's our darkest color. I will also say that some of the color coding, it takes a little bit to learn it, because some of them you would think are going to be darker than the others, but they're technically not. So you'll notice some number variations in my color combinations that will be like, what? Why are you using that? There's some tip to tip you can do. I know we do that sometimes with Copics, but not a lot, and that's generally because they have so many colors. But with Olos, you have to do a little bit more of that when you're looking for a very specific combination. So, but don't worry, I can help you with all of those things. So feel free to ask anytime. I'm still working with them. I'm still learning them and color combinations and such. There's some good information and sample sheets that you can practice on at Sandy Allnock's group has some lists, and then there are many groups that have a lot of color combinations, so you can just look in their information and see that they have color combinations all over. But I am really having fun playing with the different color combinations. So I haven't chosen my favorite yet. When I do, I will definitely share. I have been doing a lot of coloring with them. Going to watch the replay, can't keep your eyes open. Good night. Well, I'm changing the time back to 8:30 after tonight, so you guys won't be so sleepy and it won't be so late, and I know you guys have to work. So I will post it in the group, but the time's going to go back to 8:30. So maybe that will help. I hope. So the next one is 2.4, and this is the one that I'm going to do the most of the blending with. So I have to be really careful, because the more you go over it, the more juice you put on the paper and the more potential you have for going outside the lines. So sometimes it helps to move to a different section and go back. So that's just all in practice. Once you learn it, and you can play around with it, you can switch that around. That's how I did it when I was first starting. When I was first practicing, like I would go over this one, and then I would go over to this one, and then I would go back to blend this one a little bit more. And it seemed to help control any bleeding that you might do outside the lines, because it gave it a little bit of time to dry, just a little bit. And I think that's really helpful. So I think it dries a little bit slower with these because there's so much ink that goes on the paper. So try, if you're having problems with it bleeding, try to switch the sections that you're coloring to give yourself a chance for it to dry just a little bit. And that might be the trigger you need to fix that. So for this guy, we're going to use this background. So we're going to make his colors like this. And for this guy, we're going to use this color paper. So I've chosen some colors to work with. We're definitely going to add some red for sure. And then this one will have blue and red. And this one will have probably red and green, but the brown will be the sled. So I'll go ahead and start on the sled. I have, this is O. I know it looks brown, but they don't have an earth color, so this is the orange family, and 7.8, 7.7, and 7.3 make a very nice brown, so we're going to play with that. And I know this all sounds crazy compared to the Copics having like an earth tone and red and yellow red and different. It's just a different way of learning it. It's not better one way or the other. It's just you learning the difference between how to work with it when it's Olo and how to work with it when it's Copic. So it's just about the learning process. So I'm going to put a little bit of this up underneath him so that we have a bit of a shadow going on here, because he is sledding down the tag that we're going to build. And then we're going to put a little bit here. This is kind of going over his face, so we don't need it along that top line. But he does have his little hand here, and I kind of want to show these slats being different. So a little bit over here, and then underneath this area right here, and of course what's touching the ground. And then we'll come in with the next color, which is 7.7. And then we're just going to blend out from where we put that last color. And again, I'm going to go along the area, but I will come back and go over it one more time to make sure I get a really good blend there. Some of this will fill in that whole spot and some of it will not, because this is a very small area. But I do want it to be a little bit darker in the image because it's brown. So I will be coloring a little bit more with this. I'm going to finish up this side here. I don't want that to be really light. And then we're going to switch to 7.3. And that's where I'm going to go in and blend just a bit more. Now I said I was going to go back with that color and blend out, and I will, but I want to get this 7.3 in there because it's significantly lighter, and as you can see, it's lightening up my areas. So I'll want to go back in there with the darker color and kind of blend that a little bit darker. Now I'm not 100% sure exactly. I think that's his belly under there and not the sled. So that's what I'm going to go with, and that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. So that's what we're going to do with that. So I'm going back to the 7.7 just to kind of blend out a little bit this color. I want to kind of get a little bit more of that shadow going in there, and a little bit here. And then I'll come back in with that last color one more time, just to blend that out. But when you go over it a couple times, you got to be really careful because it almost went outside the lines there. So it takes a little bit of practice. Blending this out. And now we're going to work on this blending right here. I don't want to put too much ink on there. I don't want to bleed out of the lines. So I'm going to come back in after I give it a second or two to dry a little bit. And then that way it stays within the lines the way that I want it. I'm going to soften this line here just a little bit. There we go. And now he has a cute little sled. So we did him in W, and I need to do this underside as though it's his belly. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that in there. We're also going to have to do the bottom of his little skates over here on this side. So I'm going to switch now to this one. So I find that when I do these tags, I do a lot of switching back and forth so that I can use all the colors at one time, so I'm not like, you know, opening the marker a bunch of times for the different colors. I'm going to leave that one with the cap on, but not tight, because we're going to use these again for the rest of the penguin. And I just used C7 and C5, but I'm leaving them open because I want to be able to start, I want to do the outside of the penguin. So I'm going to use C9 7, and 5. And those are the only 3 I'm going to use on the penguin. So I left those open so I wouldn't be closing and opening them over and over. And if you see the S, all that stands for is just my initial and my marker, so I didn't lose it. Can't really put it on the body because when the ink runs out in the body, you throw this whole piece away, but you keep the cap and move it to the other end. So that's where the initial needed to be. Okay, C9. This is going to be our black color, so I'm going to start with the black part on the penguin. And then this is his little hand, or flipper, whichever way you want to look at it. So far, I've given you a lot of information. Anybody have any questions? Feel free to pop in and ask any questions. I'm going to put a bit of shadow here where his hat's laying on his body and his head. And then I'm going to come up underneath his body and put some on his belly. But his little hiney that's up here, I'm going to leave that alone. We'll make that much lighter. So now we have some on that one, and let's go ahead and do this one at the same time. And these are small enough images that you can do quite a bit, and they're pretty fun. Do around his head. And then he has a little bit right here, so we're just going to make this all the darkest color, and then his little flippers. So cute. We could have made him in the warm gray colors, but I was trying to stick with a lower number of markers, just, you know, to make that easier. But for those that don't know, Olo had a release of some more markers, so they now have 160 colors. So they're going to be releasing more in the future, so there will be more, but for now you have 160 options. You can buy it however you want. When you purchase it, you purchase half a marker, so you get this, and then this connector. You can connect another nib on the other end, and mine is just the refill. And now you can choose to make it however you want. So that's kind of cool. You get to make your own decision on how you want your marker to be put together. Again, I just like having a refill handy, so that is why I chose to do mine that way. But you do what works for you. If you don't color as much as I do, then you may not need to have a refill, and you could have the chisel and nib, or you could have 2 brush nibs, whichever you prefer. It makes a lot of sense. You think you're gonna do yours like mine? I mean, it's a great idea. I'm really happy. It's been a long night. I'm in bed and I dozed off. Okay, no problem. That's okay. But yes, I'm happy with it this way too, because well, the refills are cheaper than buying the full marker. And to me, if I have this same nib on both ends, I can't remember which one I use. So I'm never going to know when one's going to run out. And I just don't want to get stuck with both of them running out at the same time. So that is why I chose to, I mean, you guys know me. I did a lot of research before I purchased these markers. I wanted to make sure I made the right decision for me. So that was what I decided. And so far I'm happy with that decision. So I can put the dead one on, you know, like I can move this tip to that side, kind of just switch them around, and then I'll probably put like washi tape or something on that until the new refill comes in. And then that way I'll always have a refill. I won't ever have to worry about running out. Those that know me pretty well know that whenever I do my Copics. Whenever my refill bottle gets down to about a third, I order a new refill bottle because I don't ever want to have to run out. So doing the same type of idea with the Olos, it makes me happy. So as you can see, there's a big difference between C7 and C5. It does, if I keep blending this, it's going to make him much, much lighter than I want. So at this point, this is one of those times when I'll do the tip to tip. So I'm just going to use the C5 to pick up some C7. And then when you go over it, as you'll see, it blends like perfectly. It's like we're just missing that in-between color. So we can make that with tip to tip. So it works the same. Tip to tip works the same as the Copics do. And don't be afraid to do it. They say you're not supposed to cap your markers anyway, so they won't leak all over the place. So it's kind of the tip to tip. I find myself doing it more than I do when I use Copics. So it's just a really handy thing to do. So I want to make sure this blends really well because I don't want to leak outside the lines. I gave this a second to dry, and I'm going to go over it one more time just to smooth it out a bit. Like right there. And as it dries, it will look really good. But right now it's wet on the paper. But see how it's drying and it's looking very smooth and very pretty. It's like a great smooth blend. So the tip to tip is working perfectly for this job that we're doing. Now, if I wanted him to be much lighter, it would have been fine to leave it with the C5. But I felt like since he's supposed to be black, I wanted him to be a little bit darker. So tip to tip works really great. So I'm pretty happy with that. My Copics are probably wondering, what happened? She's not using me every day. But they'll still get all the same amount of love. I'm just trying to learn these markers really well. I figured if I was going to dive in to help you guys, I figured there were people who needed, you know, tips and tricks on Olos as well, that I would learn them too. Hi, Eileen. So that's the reason I decided to dive in. It seemed like there were a lot of people asking about them and a lot of people thinking about switching or adding to their colors by using Olos. So I thought it would be helpful if I could answer the questions that people had. So you know me, I like to help people. So that is the reason that I went ahead and dove in and learned how to use the Olos. I would think a brand new colorist, it would take longer to learn, but since I know a lot about how the colors work and everything, it made it a little bit of a quicker learning curve. But I won't lie, I colored every single day with the Olos before I went to the retreat because I didn't want to be brand new when I went to the retreat. Hi, Christina. Once you finish with that color and you've been doing tip to tip, you want to make sure you just kind of wipe off your marker on a scrap piece of paper so that you don't carry that into your next project. So that is all for the black. So now we have the two cute little penguins. So now we're going to do their hats in the colors that are going to match. So we're going to start with that blue-green color. So I've chosen the BG 2.7, 2.5, and 2.4. If you have Copics, you do not have to have Olos to go to Jen Dove's boot camp because she'll tell you both Olo and Copic. So if you have Copics already and you want to go, you can go with those as well. But if you have Olos, she will give you those colors too. So you don't have to have one or the other. You don't have to have a specific one. You can have whichever marker you want to use. So I'm going to go with doing every other one on this cute little penguin. And then the other ones will be red. So I'm just every other one, top and bottom, getting a little bit of love there. Not going to put a whole lot at the top of that one because it really is above and probably got more light. So the underside will be darker. And there we go, off the page. I'm going to make his earmuffs in the red color, so that's why I haven't put that color on any of these. I haven't filled in with this color on any of those. I will say I do reach for that other lid on the other end a lot. I think that my brain has learned when I'm coloring I need to remove both caps, and these don't have both caps, so yeah, I got to get used to that. I don't think I'm used to that yet. So the back piece, I went ahead and colored it in because it's more in the shadow area, but these other ones I will leave a white space. I also chose the blue first because the red will be darker, so if I go outside the lines at all, the red will cover it up. They look so cute. You like them? They're really adorable. I mean, you could make their bellies and stuff any color of the white. You could even leave them white if you really wanted to. It's kind of up to you. But I like to put a little bit of a shadow in their belly just to show it's not paper white. And then this one is 2.4. So sometimes when I use 2.4, I have to do tip to tip. But I think what we're going to do is color it in, and then we're going to go back a second time just to see if we can get that color to blend once it dries. Because you know with alcohol markers, the second coat always makes it darker than the first after it dries. Hi, Shalana. So this is second coat just to get it to blend a little bit more smooth. And it worked like magic, so I'm very happy with that. Perfect. And then up here, we need to finish out his little headphones. So notice I had to hold the marker upright to get the very tip of that marker so I don't bleed outside the lines. So do you like Olos as much as your Copics? Yeah, you're late, but you're late, but you're here. That's all that matters. Well, I mean, that's up for debate. I like the Olos. I can get good results from them. But depending on what I'm doing, I would, as a personal opinion, and really this is only my opinion, I still like the Copics better, but I can still get really good results. I mean, look, I can get really good results out of the Olos, but the Copics give me a bigger variety of colors. And I already know their coloring system, their numbering system, and this one confuses me a little bit. The OR throws me off a lot. So this is one of those, I told you the numbers are a little weird out of sequence. So R17 is the darkest one that I'm going to use. And even though R06 looks lighter on the cap, it really works better as the medium color. And then R1.5 works better as the lightest color. So just need to practice. You still like your Copics better, but you like these for traveling. Don't have 300 markers to carry. I will say it is easier to carry them. I actually took both I took both my Copics and my Olos because I was driving to the retreat. I only used my Copics a couple of times. I let other people use them. One other person use them. And, but I didn't really use them while I was gone because I really wanted to get the Olo practice, but I was afraid if it leaked a lot or frustrated me that I would want my my Copics to be handy. So I did take them. But in the future, I could see me traveling just with the Olos if I needed to travel with markers. It does make it easier to have less and still be able to get a good result if you're going to travel. So there are, see, it blobbed on my paper. Did you see that? Oh, that is the frustrating part about these markers. And no matter what you do, it happens. Look at how wet that marker is. And if I hold it up, it'll just keep coming out. Look. It's so frustrating. So I will show you how we will, well, I've really ruined that one, but I'll show you how I try to fix that in a little bit. Red is the hardest color to fix, so it's not really good, and the fact that it's dripping out means I need to be really careful and work a little faster so that maybe I can finish this up before it does it again. I think this is why there aren't a lot of live videos with the Olos, because they do that. I have not even had this marker capped and uncapped like multiple times or anything, and it's very frustrating. You brought those bad boys. I was blessed to use them and I didn't have a few colors. Yes, I'm glad that I could help. So what I'm going to do, and this is going to take a little bit. I've done it before. It's not easy, but you can get some of that fixed up. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the WG0 and I'm going to start trying to work this color out. It's red, so it's probably not going to work, but I'm going to try to pick up some of that color. I could actually, the colorless blender might work better. Let's try that. So we're going to try to pick up some of that red and put it, I'm going to put it on the napkin as I pick it up. We're trying to soak some of it off of the page so that we can maybe get it light enough that you won't be able to notice it. But this is very sad. That will just make something out of that. Like some ice or whatever. But as you can see, it's getting lighter. We're fixing it a little bit. So we'll have to go over it again with with W's. But for now, we're going to try and lighten that color. So it's not unfixable, but it's a bit on the frustrating side. You don't want to put too much too close, because that will, too much of the colorless blender close to the line will pull the green and the red right out into your penguin. So you want to be really careful when you do it. We'll just put him on a ground or something that we'll make this into once we lighten this red. And we'll be just fine. Normally I would have had a meltdown, freehand to make it a call. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely figure out a way to fix these. But I think this is the part that most people don't see, is what do I do if this happens? And that's why we are, we're just going to keep going. We're not going to restart. We're not going to throw it away. We're going to salvage it as best we can. It's only paper, so if we did have to throw it away, it won't be the end of the world. But I think we can fix it. So we're going to try and do our best and see how it goes. But most people won't know how to fix it, so we're going to play with it until we get it fixed. So see, it's getting lighter. It's picking up some of the colors, so no problem. You drink and pretend you didn't do it. Hi, Jimmy Lynn. Some freehand to make a call. Yeah, we can definitely come up with something. I'm not all that worried. Normally I would have been like complete meltdown, but I also learned, you guys might want to know, and this made me think of it because I'm trying to fix this spot right here. But I also learned that if your ink becomes sticky for some reason, you can also pick up the sticky with your colorless blender and wipe it off on a napkin like I'm doing right now. and it helps remove that sticky so you can color over it again. I did not know that. I learned that at the Jennifer Dove retreat, which is a very helpful thing for sure. So as long as we can make this lighter, we can color this in with a brown and fix that. So this one just keeps pulling more out of that sweater. So I'm not really sure how we're going to fix that, but we're going to keep trying. So in the meantime, sentiment over the belly, yeah, that might just happen, but these are tags, so that doesn't quite work out as well as we would like. I think maybe if I set it on top of a towel when I'm putting the ink, maybe it'll seep through to the bottom because it's kind of thick, and the paper towel underneath it will pick up some of the color, which would be really great if it did. But as you can see, it is getting extremely light down here. So we're getting somewhere. It's just that this part is going to be bad. It's a lot of ink to pick up. It's a lot. It was red, the worst one for it to happen with. So let's go ahead and give that a rest for a second. We're going to move on to using our R06, and we're going to work on the other areas, just not touching that part that we have the blob on, and we'll just keep going. So right here, I'm watching the marker now, because I'm like, oh, I don't want that to happen again. We're not going to do this one. We'll skip over here. Yep. I did, but I knew it would happen eventually. And then we're going to go to the R1.5. And this one is so bright. It's such a pretty red. It really brings all of that to life, this one color. So they're really cute. Turned out very nice, except for our big blob. Something will come to me. Yeah, what a bummer. Isn't that a bummer? Okay, we're going to need these two markers again once we get this fixed, but we'll have to be working on this for a little while. It's going to take us a bit to get that to spread out more. Let's put it back on the paper towel. I feel like this really dark area right here, if I could get that to bleed down into the paper towel below, it would be really great. But I don't know if it will. It's soaking some. We'll let him rest again. We'll work on this one. Okay, so we're going to go back to the red, the one that blobbed on us, and we're going to hope that it behaves now. This is the R1.7. I'm going to do the top of his hat. And we're going to watch it and make sure it doesn't act crazy again. Put a few little folds in his hat. There we go. And I think we'll just make the top right here all green. So we'll need those reds again though for our stocking and our hat and stuff. And I accidentally dripped some of that red on my stocking as well. So, or my hat. I'll show you in a minute. So we'll have to fix that one as well. But I did color a lot and the blobs didn't happen, so you just never know. I do store them with the nib side up in hopes to prevent this from happening, but this one is still very, very juicy. This one is R 1.5. What if you draw another piece of the scarf so that it looks like a piece of the scarf hanging down on his belly? Oh, that's a good idea. We could do that, or I could stamp another one and do just his belly and put it over it. We could do that as well. That's a great idea. Both great ideas. I don't know that there's enough of that scarf. Well, there might be on the stamp set. We'll look at the stamp set in a minute, because that might be super helpful to do. That's a great idea. Okay, so the green I have is 8.7, then I have 8.5, and then I jump all the way to 2.5. Because this is more of like that olive green color. And then when you get to the 2.5, it becomes more of that chartreuse-ish color. That's kind of a tongue twister. Chartreuse color. So, you'll see. This is more of the olive green. So if you want an olive green, this is your sequence. But once I got this olive tone in here, I wanted to change it up to be a little bit brighter. So I decided to add in the green 2.5, YG 2.5, because I thought that it gave it just a little bit of more of a brighter color to it. You see that highlight that popped up in there? Because this is a much brighter green. And I thought it gave it a pretty color. So we have one done. This is our one penguin. And he is going to have this background. So it goes with this little brown sled. So we'll cut that in a little bit. And then this one, let's try to build him a platform to stand on. So let me find his browns again that we used. So this was 7.8, 7.7, and 7.3. So we're going to make his ground. I know he's actually on snow, but we're going to do it anyway. Like, he's not actually on the rink yet. He is still hanging out. And he's going to go ice skating in a little bit. Or we could just put this right over the ice skates and he could just be standing on the ground. Maybe that's what we'll do. And that'll make him not even on ice skates anymore. Perfect. See that? It changes him up completely. And it'll cover up our red and we will be in great shape. We'll cut his belly out of another stamp, put it over his belly, and we'll be all good. So no, you don't have to worry about it. It isn't a terrible throw it away image situation. When you're learning these and they leak like that, you have to come up with alternative things you can do. This is my solution. So we're just going to add a little bit more up here. We're going to go all the way down. We'll probably do some tip to tip for this connecting area. It looks like he's on a little hill. Maybe he's waiting for his little sledding friend. I'm going to do a little tip to tip to blend this out. This is the 7.3 with the 7.7. I want it to get lighter as it goes down. So let's go back with 7.7 and add a little bit more. When you see it get streaky like that, it means the paper's oversaturated, I think. So we're going to let that dry a little bit before we add some more. Oops. So then I'll add this one right to the edge, kind of give that a little streaky look. And then we'll do the tip to tip again to blend this out. And it will be repaired. So it covered up the red very nicely, no problem. I think we still have to work this area right here, which we'll probably have to work with the 7.7. Because we don't want that to look too much like there's a big line between the different hill areas. But there we go. Very nice. So now we don't have that big red splotch, which makes us feel better about all of this. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish up his scarf area. So I'm going to use the 06 to blend that out a little bit. And up from here. And then we'll put the 1.5 in the center. And then I'll show you how to paper piece this back together so it's all fixed. So here we go. We're going to grab our, I'm going to grab my little Misty. I'm going to put a piece of the same Hammer Mill cardstock on here. I'm going to grab my stamp set. Again, this is sliding by, this one right here. I'm going to take this little guy off of here and we're going to stamp him on here. Just grabbing my memento real quick. We are going to fix this tag because I'm telling you, I'm going to use this tag for Christmas. I didn't even stamp the whole thing because all I need is the belly. So we're going to take this off. Just going to cut this out. We'll cut it a little more detailed here in a minute. But I like to have something for my stamp to sit on if I'm not going to clean it off right away. We're going to take our W that we used. Remember, we used W5 and it was a little dark for me, so I'm going to use 3 instead. Gives me a chance to redo that. And then I'm going to use 1. We'll make sure it matches his face before we move on. We're just blending this out a little bit. Now I'm going to use the colorless blender. Oops, I didn't have the cap on it. Just going to blend that out a little bit. I think I'll use the W0 for this one as well. It is somewhere on my desk with all of these markers. Somewhere. There it is. We'll add a little bit here just across the belly to blend that in. And now we have a belly that I think matches the face of the other one. We'll cut it out on the line very carefully. Right here. I'm going to cut it right on the line. Just around the area, and no one will ever know. This is when it's live. You don't have a chance. You have to show how you fix it. You don't have a chance to Repair behind the scenes. So this is real life here, guys. Real life. Then we will glue this on there and you won't know any different. So here we go. I'm going to grab my glue, my Barely Art glue. I'm going to put it on the back of this little guy. Got a little bit too much on there. I'm going to use my tweezers so I can get this laying exactly where I want it. So you won't be able to see. There we go. So I just need to move that over just a tad to get him in just the right spot. I'm going to go ahead and wipe any glue residue off the edges just so it doesn't show. You don't normally have to do that, but I don't want it to show. And then I'm going to press it down. As good as new. And now we have number 2 done. Isn't that adorable? So it ended up not so bad in the end after all. So now we have 2 ready. This one is actually going to go with the blue-green background, which looks like this. I mean, look how cute that is. It's adorable. So now we have that one. And then these are pretty quick to fix. This one, I actually got red on this one, which was really, really unfortunate. I do have a sand eraser, I think, here, somewhere here handy. And if I can find that, I might try to sand erase that off of there, because I'm technically not going to color on that spot. So I'm going to try my sand eraser. If you don't have one, you should check into it. It's called the Sand Eraser Mono. It's by Tombow. And basically what you do is just go over the area where the color is that you don't want. It does sand the paper down a little, but I think it may get rid of it enough that we won't have to worry about it. So I'm just kind of taking the top layer or so off of the, see how it's going away? It's kind of like magic. And so we're just going to work it a little bit more. See if we can get that to go away. Oh, I think we're there. Almost. One more spot right there. Now we can color this one and good as new. Now I wouldn't do that if I was going to color on that spot, but since I'm not going to color on that spot, it makes it easy. Okay, so we have 3 more, but these are going to be fairly fast because they're just very small sections. So I'm going to start with the green. I'm going to start with the 8.7, and I'm going to do all the parts of green that I want to do for each piece. So for this one, I want to do green on the bow. So we're going to go ahead and start the bow. And then this inside, I like to be darker. I like to do these dark. And a little bit underneath that part, the center part here. We'll do these little corners, but not a whole lot, just a little bit. And then down here, I like to kind of put a little bit towards the edge of the corner. And right down there where it overlaps. So now we have, you need one of those erasers. They're pretty amazing. I like them a lot. This one, I want the leaves to be green, so I'm going to go ahead and put some of that green on these leaves. And again, I'm watching this marker just to make sure I don't have another accident. It's just when you least expect it. When you're watching it, it doesn't do it. And I wish I could say why it does it and why it doesn't. I just don't know. And the solution is don't recap them in between, but I didn't do that with these and they still did it. So it's frustrating, but at least you know it can be fixed. So glad I got to jump on, but sleep med kicking and I don't want to fall off the bed. No, you do not. If fishing in Animal Crossing, boy, I have done that. Let me tell you. Okay, since the candy cane's going to be red and green, we're going to do this bow in green as well. So we're going to kind of do the same darkness on here. You can always watch the replay. I'll upload it to YouTube tonight after this video is over. And you can always see the replay. I'm going to add just a little bit right in here to make it look like this bow is kind of curved in. It looks a little funny when you first do it, but in the end it looks really cute. So that's our YG87. I'm closing it up because we shouldn't need it anymore. And then this is the 8.5. So we're going to start working that area and extending out. Going to leave the highlight for the last color. So just working this. And as somebody said at the beginning, I don't remember who said it, but I have noticed that the dripping does it more on the darker colors. So I don't know why that is, but it just is. Around the center, around the edges here. And then extending from where I put the darkest colors. Colored these a few times, so kind of know where I want to color and I don't have to think about it so much. So that makes it a little bit easier to do when I'm doing the lives. But this is the medium color, so I want to go around the outside with it, leaving just highlight areas for the lightest color. That's going to change the tone of it just a little bit. But these are really cute. If you're looking for super simple, quick tags, this stamp set from Pajama Crafter Stamps is so handy. And the penguin too. I mean, both of them are just really great for making tags. And you know, sometimes I have a hard time finding tags where they cost, you know, $5-6, and I'm like, yeah, I could just color some because I love to color so much. Look, see, it's starting to make the cutest little bow here. I really like the bows in this set. All the bows are super cute. These are not images that I drew, but they are also available at Pajama Crafter Stamps. There we go. And then we have one last color, which is YG 2.5. Or be crazy like me and do a tag each day in November. I've been watching your tags each day. I mean, one tag a day for every day in December gives you a lot of tags by the time you need them. That's kind of a cool idea. Maybe you should have a group do it with you, or are you doing that? I didn't notice. I know you said you challenged yourself to do a tag a day, but you should let me know when you're getting ready to do that next year. Maybe I'll do that with you. A tag a day. That sounds like fun. So notice I didn't put any color inside this part up here because I want it to stay a little bit darker than the rest. So I didn't add any of this color to the inside of the bows. But I really like this color combination a lot. I think it's really pretty. It's one of my favorites. You'll see, it's one of my favorite go-to greens. I don't have a lot of favorites yet, but this one will be definitely for sure. Hi, Jana. And this is your 3rd year doing it? And so do you end up with as many tags as you need for Christmas? when you get done? I wonder if it, sometimes I just write their name on the wrapping paper. It's not very festive, but for friends and stuff, they get tags. But for my kids, you know, they just get their name on the package. Santa's elves being lazy. Hey. I will be doing some speed coloring videos with Olos as well. I'll be recording them later this week is my plan. I need to get my nails done tomorrow and then I can do some videos. Because they look so bad right now. It's been like 3 weeks. So I have my appointment. So when I see you guys on Thursday at 8:30 Central, we're changing back to 8:30. Then my nails will be done. They will look nice. So this green, look at that green bow. Isn't that just beautiful? And see how I used it all at the same time so that we didn't have to change around the colors. So I'm going to do the rest of it in red with the exception of the holly berries. I'll probably put just the dark and the light and skip the medium so we have a highlight and a depth. Funny thing is that I don't use any of them for Christmas. I give most of them away. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Aw, that's awesome though. I bet the people who get them are just super excited about them. You like the images? These are Pajama Crafter stamps, and we did penguins before you jumped in. So we have some penguins, but we're going to make these into tags, and I'm going to show you how super fast that's going to be here in just a few minutes. I already have the die cuts ready for us to die cut the shapes and get that going. So we got to watch this guy because he is very juicy right now. We don't want him to leak on our paper. Sometimes I switch the color if that happens, you know, and I just don't use this particular color for a little while because see, it's already doing it again. So we could switch it, but there's not a real close one. There is an R18, no, R1.8, but it's very dark compared to this one. So I'll show you. See how much darker it gets? So it's still pretty, but it definitely is darker. So we have to be a little bit careful, but this one would be really good for the berries. So we'll do the berries in the really dark one. And at least that gave us a little bit of a break on this one. And if this one gets really juicy again, we'll just take a little break from it. So I'm just blending out that darkest color I put in there. Come on, marker. Behave with me here. I'm gonna try to barely touch the paper because they say it doesn't release ink unless it's touching the paper. That is what I've read on the Olo site, but we gotta baby this one because, and I colored with this one this weekend and didn't have any issues with this at all. But now, all of a sudden, it's misbehaving. But we're going to continue coloring with the Olos because I want you guys to be able to see what happens and how you fix it when it does happen. So we are not giving up. We are still going to use them for a while. And all I'm doing is kind of touching the tip on a napkin off to the side just so that it doesn't, but see, it's so it doesn't overflow on my paper. But if I hold this marker upright like this, it's just going to drip right out of the marker onto the paper. And if you give it just a second, you'll see it happen. And this is why I don't understand how you prevent it, because you can't open the other end but you can see it. Watch. And I don't want to use all of my ink and waste it by dripping it on the paper. But just to get through this image for now, we're going to kind of move a little bit faster. And I'm going to keep holding it upright when I pick it up so that maybe it'll go back in there and it won't leak on my paper, because I definitely don't want it to leak on my paper. I mean, we could fix it, but we don't want to have to do that again tonight. Lifting this up. I've decided to put a little bit of red in here because I feel like there's too much gray back to back. So I just covered up the gray with this red one. I'm sure we'll have times when we color with the Olos and they don't do that at all, but this is not one of those times. So I closed that one up and put it away. We are not going to use that one again. This is our next one. This is our 06. I'm going to start blending out from where our last color was. I think this will still look really good, even though we added that really dark color that I hadn't intended on adding. But since this is the third color for this one, it's going to be our true color, so I went around the outside with it. It's still super pretty. There we go. And then I'm not going to do those berries very much at all because I want the lightest color in there. I want it to be really dark and then really light so it's significantly different than the hat. But as you can see, these colors look very nice together. They blend very smoothly. The markers are pretty juicy tonight. Maybe it's just still too hot here. I don't know. We don't have a whole lot more to go, so I think we can get through this. But I was sort of wondering if that's why there weren't a lot of people doing videos with Olos, because I couldn't find a lot of videos, and I thought maybe it was because they didn't want to take the chance of the marker dripping in the middle of a video, but I am willing to take that chance. Our 1.5 is our last colors. That's the one that we're going to do a little bit of back and forth, and then we'll blend out the color. I mean, we got to do real life stuff. You guys got to know what happens. Because how frustrating would it be if you bought them and you were sitting at home and they were leaking and you're like, everyone else has great, you know, and mine isn't working. That's really pretty. You'd be frustrated. So, you know, I want to show, tell all. So we'll play together and we'll figure it out. And then we'll figure out how to fix issues when we have them, so that if you have issues, you can fix it too. I don't have that problem with Copics, you know, blobbing on me since I opened both ends of both caps on both ends. So that makes me happy about them, but I don't know how to prevent this one from doing it. I do store them upright like this in a case with the lid on them. So they're always stored upright. So I don't know why that happens, but yes, you heard a lot of people frustrated with Olos because of the blobs. Yeah, me too. I'm hoping that they're going to do something about that. But honestly, I have to also give you the truth is that these are the original Olos. I know I said I just bought them, but these are actually, so Joy bought the original set, and when she bought them, she bought the brush nib on both ends. So what happened was I said I didn't want to do that. I wanted to purchase like the set of, you know, brush on one end, refill on the other end. So we talked about it and we decided that we would break her markers into 2 groups. So I have the original one. So some of that might have been fixed with the newer models that they've made since the initial rollout of them. So in light of being honest with all of it, there's that. Okay, the colors I picked. So we're all done coloring them. They're super cute. I hope that you guys like them. These are going to be the backgrounds that we're going to have for these. And I can't remember which one I had on the green, but I think it's the stocking will be on the green. And then these 2 will be on red. So I always have a napkin handy when I'm using the Olos in case I have a marker blob, so I can be ready for it. I usually catch it before it happens because I watch the nib when I'm coloring. But when I'm doing a live coloring, talking, and crafting, I sometimes can miss that. So I'll show you how quick and easy these are. Again, this is Tonic Studios. I have one that is smaller than the others. And that one is this. So this will be the die cut for this one. So I already have some little, this is really good washi tape right here. It's a special kind of washi tape that you use for your die cuts, and I love it. I got it from Joy when she had her show recently. It looks like this. Some of you probably already have it, but I really like it because it's not as sticky as washi tape, so it doesn't cause me any issues. This tag will go on here. I can cut 2 tags at one time if they are these 2 sizes, but I only chose one at this size, one at the little size. So we'll have to cut the other ones, but I'm using my little mini maker. I'm going to zoom out so you guys can actually see what I'm doing on my desk. Use my little mini maker. I'm going to put this one on this end. And I'm going to put this one on this end so I can cut these 2 at one time. Now, you can add bling to yours. I did not. I liked my tags a little bit on the simple side. So I did not add, I was not going to add any bling to them. But you could if you wanted to. It would just be a personal preference. But for those that are sticking around here for the end of the show, I'm going to show you what the cards up close that we did for the retreat so you can see the Olo coloring that we did, because we did a lot of Olo coloring. A lot. There's 2 tags. This one is, I got the red blob on there, so I'm going to move the tag down so the paper will cover it up. Okay, that has red on it. I'm done with the small tag. We just have a couple more of these. I think 2 more after this one. It's a pretty quick process. If you have a little die cut machine on your desk, it's super fast. There's that one. It goes with that guy. Then there's this one. And these are all scraps of paper I had, which is why I picked this one to be in this blue color, because I had this scrap piece of paper and I wanted to use it. It's a little bit long, so I need to cut this off so it'll feed through the machine pretty easy. We don't need to have any issues. This is the mini maker. I love this little machine. Those who've been watching me for a long time know that I've had like 3 or 4 of these different machines. But I was looking for one that I didn't have to keep replacing the plates or folders or whatever I used. This one is doing fantastic. So I'm really happy about that. This is my little penguin one. And one more, and then we can assemble. So we're pretty close to being done. Not sure what happened to Cheryl tonight. She's usually here. There are a lot of people, and there was even well, there were 2 people really frustrated in our class with their markers just blobbing every color. I didn't really have that much of a problem until the last day with mine, so, and I even colored in the hotel room at night, so I really used them a lot. So I don't know what drives them to do that. All right, so now I'm finished with that, and then we just get to put our little cards together, and these tags are so cute. Look at that. It goes together super fast. They're layered. We could even pop them up if we wanted. I thought I left out some pop-up thingies here on my desk so I could pop them if I wanted, but I don't see them now. Well, we'll grab some more, but I had some out here on my desk because I wanted to use them, but I'll just grab some more from my drawer. But I have these sheets of sticky foam paper, so if you wanted, you could just cut like a piece and pop them up. So we'll pop a couple and the rest we won't. So for this one, I'll make a second one. I like these sheets. I got them on Amazon. They are super handy. You just cut them down to whatever size you want and they pop it up. It's really great. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces that go like this in my upper corner sections just because I don't like them to fall down, especially when they're sitting on a package or whatever. So just a little bit of extra up here. Then we just peel these off. They come off pretty quick. And then you just lay it on top of here. And if you're not sure you can lay it perfectly straight, you can always put glue behind it so that it doesn't stick immediately. And it'll give you some wiggle room. So there it is, popped up. It's not popped up a lot, but it's super cute. I like it. This is the smaller one. We'll go ahead and glue that one down. So you can make the big ones or small ones with this die set from Tonic Studios. I got it at a local scrapbook store by my house. They had it on clearance, like $11.99. So I picked it up, thought I'd make me some tags. That's the littler one, so there's a big one and a little one, and you wouldn't necessarily have to double layer them, and then you'd have 4 different shapes. Well, yeah, I guess you kind of do because there's no loop to catch that one, so you do kind of have to double layer them. This one will pop up the little penguin we had to repair. That'll be the other one will pop up, but if you see, once you cut them and stuff, how quick they go together, really helpful to make a lot of tags really fast, and they're super cute. And you can add bling if you want. I'm not really feeling the bling for this particular project just because it's just a tag for the package. I don't think it necessarily needs bling, but you could bling it up if you wanted. I'm going to put this on here. Again, I just want that little piece on there so that it doesn't fall down at the top. There we go. Then we'll peel that off. I like this stuff. And we'll just lay this tag on top of here. Make sure that I have it lined up before I press it down. See, now our little guy saved. He had a big blob on his belly and on the ground, and now he is all saved and he is a tag. I am so happy that that didn't get ruined for us. Here's the other one. Now lay that on top. Up just a little. There we go. Perfect. Now we have 5 tags. They're super cute. They were really fast. And while you're checking them out, I used the rest of the stamps recently, and I did a whole bunch more of these. So I have used all the stamps within the set, and they're all super, super cute. I like how they came out. There's bells, hats, candles, candy canes, just so many things. So they're a lot of fun, very simple, easy, quick. This is the Christmas holiday tags from Pajama Crafter Stamps. It was originally Prickly Pear, but is now Pajama Crafter Stamps. And the Sliding by Penguins from Pajama Crafter Stamps. You love them? I love them too. This is the Tonic Studio die cuts that I used tonight. I'm really happy with that. And then if you guys want to see the cards I made at the event, we can talk about those a little bit. So we made this one. The bunny rabbit wasn't available anymore, but this is the bunny that we did. I did buy the paint palette die cut, so we can definitely do that in the future. Then there was this little cow, and I bought the die cut that does the big word and the happy birthday. The background was all done with Olos. So the green and the blue and all that, we had to hand color all that because, like I told you, no pattern paper. This one, also same thing. I bought these dies, and we Olo colored all the backgrounds. So this piece is Olo colored. The background was Olo colored. The backdrop for that. These were white with nothing on them. And we drew the little crosses on there with our Olos and made the shadows. Don't they look like they're standing up? I mean, just super cool. Then we did this one. This was the only one that she had used craft paper on, so we didn't have to do that. But all the clouds and all the background, we learned all of that. And then this one is a little piggy making a pie. All the pieces were white, and we had to color everything. So that was pretty fun. And we made the cutting board look like wood. It was really cute. And then we also did this one. This is the only one that had a tree pattern paper in the background. Everything else we colored. I colored the fence and all the little people. These cows are cute. This is La La Land stamps. Then this one. So again, we had to color the background that's underneath there. Every one of these that's matted is all matted with Copic colored paper. No pattern paper on here. Well, the polka dot thingy, I think, was a pattern paper. But it was just 2 little tiny strips of paper, see? Little strips, not even a whole background. But you can't tell. It's super cute. And then this was one of my favorites because this background right here that we had to color with the Olos, this hole, this hole, this hole, and this hole are drawn on there. That hole and that hole were already in the die. So we drew the holes, colored them to make it look like you could see through it. And that was a really neat technique as well. And we drew the hole in the apple. So that was pretty cool. And then this one, we colored every bit of this was white. And this swirly was a black stamp on a white background that we colored. So we colored every single thing in this on this image. And I bought that die that makes this background right here, and this whole piece was white. We colored it black in between the balls and then colored the balls. So that was really neat. And then this was also one of my favorite cards. But I have to open this one because it's really, really neat. So, you ready for this? It sits like this. It's so adorable. And we colored all the pieces on this one as well, including the sun and the clouds. But look at the water droplets. So I learned a little bit of a different technique on making water droplets, and I can't wait to teach those to you guys because look at how amazing those water droplets look. Like, that's really awesome. I can't wait to play with that a little more. They almost look like they move around on the page. So these were really fun projects. Lots of cool things to learn. I can't wait to share all the new things and the fun things with you guys. We do have a new release coming this weekend, so keep that in mind. And this stamp set is on sale in the shop. This one. It's, I want to say somewhere around like $9.99 or $7.99 or something like that, and it has dies to match. So if you're interested, you might want to go out there and check it out. Otherwise, here we go. I hope you guys enjoyed the tag night tonight. We have a release this weekend. I will ask if I can do sneak peek on Thursday. If not, we'll find something else to do. But if I can, we might be coloring something from the new release. So make sure you join me on Thursday at 8:30 Central right here for another project. And check out the YouTube if you missed this. And I will put the Olo colors in the description. And thank you so much for joining me tonight. And feel free to reach out and ask any questions if you have any questions. Of course, if they're Copic or Olo related. If I don't have the answer, I'll find you the answer. So you guys have a great evening, and I will see you on Thursday. Good night. Thank you, Timothy.